There we go. We're live. Nicolaas to Preez, welcome to Coffee and Conversations with Champions. Nick, it's good to have you on, man.
Happy days, finally. Thank you
Fun.
so much for
Yeah.
hosting me.
Uh,
This has been coming in for the last month or month and a half that we tried organizing this, but your life constantly pops up.
Listen, I take full responsibility for that and blame. So thank you for being so gracious and
Not at all.
understanding. Really appreciate it.
Always just too excited to be on the podcast.
Oh, awesome, man. Now it's great to have you on. So I think for for the three people in the world who may not know who you are, let's kick off with a little bit of a brief intro and a background. You can let us know sort of who you are, and then I want to chat to you about how you got into strength, why it's important to you, like things like what makes South Africa so special within the strength community, and all of these really cool
Mm.
things. Because I think, given what's been going on in the world for the last probably a decade and a half, I think strength is very, very undervalued for having a
Mm.
good quality of life and enhancing our quality of life. But before I start rambling, Nick, please give us a quick background as to who you are.
Okay, so hello to everyone. My name is Nicolaas, and obviously for those that know or don't know, I'm from South Africa, all the way down in the southern tip. I've been doing powerlifting for the last 8 years, give or take, which is literally the half the amount of time that I've been gymming. I've been into the gym for 16 years now. And I've been all over the place. I've played team sports, rugby, soccer. I've been through athletics. I've even done squash, tennis. I've done almost any sport under the sun. I've went through a few different types of martial arts. But the day that I don't want to say discovered powerlifting, but the day that I actually went and tried and tasted it, it just stuck with me. So for the last 8 years, that's the longest that I've religiously stuck with the strength sports since I started lifting.
Oh, phenomenal. I love that sort of the powerlifting bug that bites us, and it's always a great story.
Definitely.
I think firstly, let's start off with why was sports important to you? Everything from squash to martial arts. What was it about sports that you enjoyed? What was the value that it gave you?
I would say two of the big takeaways for me is routine or structure. Um, because with me, I do believe it doesn't matter what sport you do, you need to do it properly. Otherwise, you're wasting your time and everybody else's time. So the routine and the structure that you have revolving around that sport, it keeps me in line, keeps me in focus, helps me get to the objectives that needs to be done on the day. And then also for second given reason, is it clears the head, it keeps you calm, gets rid of all of the built up negative energy in life. Um, and also, I want to say it's one of the few things that actually has me excited to keep on pushing every day. So, for basic reasons, it keeps me on the edge, it keeps me on my toes.
I think that's such a great point that you've made because in particular with strength sports, so I know like with squash or tennis or golf or cricket or even martial arts, progress can be quite difficult to track in terms of,
Mm.
you're in a dojo, you're in a martial arts club, and you're fighting guys that are at much higher levels. It may take a long time before you're able to tap out a black belt if you're a blue belt, or whatever the situation there is. With strength sports or with powerlifting in particular, the progression is linear. We can track it quite easily, and from day one almost when you're coming into the gym. Do you find the structure of powerlifting and of the sport appealing, and that's something that adds to its value other than just the strength side, where you can see your progress more linear?
Oh, definitely. At the end of the day, it's black on white. You can easily track and progress your progression throughout the years. I think it's one of the sports and recreational um, viewpoints where the amount of energy and work that you put in, you will be getting it back in some way or format. As with, for example, other sport types, like let's use bodybuilding as an
Hmm.
example. I want to say it's not as clear cut and as subjective. And for one of those reasons as well, I think that's maybe why I've been sticking so long with powerlifting and I haven't moved on to the next. Because once again, whatever you put in, you will be getting something out of it.
Absolutely. I think they're very clever the way they structured the sport to keep us in forever because, you're going from sub juniors to juniors, then into open and then into the master divisions. And then, there's always,
Exactly. There's always a next and a next and the next. So
always things to chase and people to chase and records to chase. Uh, Tell us about your
definitely.
first experience, your early experience within powerlifting, your first competition. Sort of what was it about the sport that made you say, "Hey, this is where I want to put more of my energy"?
So as I mentioned previously, I've been going through most of the sport types, athletics, rugby, soccer, you name it. And then eventually I had one of my friends ask me, like, have you ever done powerlifting? And I told them, no, I do know about powerlifting. In fact, when I was younger and just gymming, most of the people that I looked up to weren't really bodybuilders or, anyone of that regard. They were powerlifters. For example, Dan Green, Kevin Oak, Eric Lillibridge, all of the golden era people. First competition was back in 2018. It was the inaugural of the WPC Federation when they just had their first meet again coming back on the
Hmm.
scene. Um, and to put it just bluntly, directly after the meet, I was like, this is meant for me. I enjoyed it. I'm actually quite good at it because I didn't really know what I was doing. But even from the people with what they told me, I was like, I could actually get quite far with this. Maybe we can do something with this. So let's just keep on doing another meet. And then from the first meet, we went into the second meet, and now 8 years later, we're here.
Sure. Fantastic. By the way, Jacques Duplessis says good morning and dropping messages on YouTube. We've just come back from Durban now, where the WPC South Africa hosted the WPC World Championships at the Onema Hotel
Yes.
in Cape Town. Just to touch on that comp, I mean, it's like this is also why my voice is a little bit gone. We've been editing photos for sort of like 18 hours a day, and everyone's been saying
I
how
get that.
wonderful the photos are. And I was saying to the organizers, it's not really the pics are, they're good, but it's that environment, the lighting, the atmosphere, the setup.
Mhm.
What did you think of that competition and also of the hotel venue?
Well, starting with the city that they chose, Durban, I'm happy that they chose one of the major cities, either Cape Town, Johannesburg, or Durban, I would say is one of the three go-to points. There's the international uh, airport, so
Mm.
it's great for people having to fly in, etc. The Onoma Hotel was actually beautiful. It was spectacular. Never been there, never heard of the place, but when you got there, the staff was friendly. The directional area to get to the warm-up area or the platform was straightforward. You didn't struggle, and it wasn't too overcrowded. There was a lot of people,
Mm.
but you could still move.
Right.
Regarding WPC Worlds, I have to say kudos to WPC and Zane for hosting the World Champs. It was actually rather smooth. I do know they even finished up sometimes a few minutes to and a half an hour before the time slots, which just goes to show that the management and the admin
Hmm.
they were on their feet. So kudos to them. And also a lot of amazing athletes that flew in. We had some strong lifters on the platform, which was amazing to see as always.
And I think even like some of the older lifters, it was absolutely mind blowing. I know Australia brought quite a few more mature. I've got to be careful here. Can't say older, more mature lifters. Great Britain
Uh,
as well. You see athletes like Belinda from Australia lifting these incredible weights. Valerie in her 80s, just bringing such attitude
that was
and
amazing.
charm to the platform. Incredible. And seeing sort of Franco even running the event and lifting as well, and then doing the medal ceremony at the end, the prize giving with you. What was that like for you?
Usually, I'm the kind of guys that says if you're going to host a powerlifting meet, don't compete. And if you're going to compete, don't host.
Yep.
I've seen several times where that formula doesn't always work out well for the given individual. But Franco, he actually made a statement. It is possible, but then again, I do not want to know what he felt like after that week. I think just organizing and directing a meet alone is a lot of stress.
Mm.
I'm also going through that now since we'll be hosting the ads essay next weekend. There's a lot going into an international event like that. Um, so, I mean, he shows it can be done.
Hmm. And for you, just on a lighter note, what was it like having the warm up area in the parking garage in the basement? Do you think that added a little bit of intensity to the guys' warm ups?
I think it added a bit of a raw,
Mm.
unfiltered effect. I mean, it was basically in the basement of the parking bay on cold cement with cold weights. It doesn't get more hardcore than that. Um, but then again, I do believe we powerlifters are cut from a different cloth.
Yeah.
We don't really care what the place looks like. As long as the equipment is there, as long as we can lift, we happy. They may as well have had the equipment outside on the grass and the people wouldn't have complained as well.
Absolutely. It was quite an interesting thing with the setup of the comp because we were there a couple of days early and just listening and overhearing some of the conversations talking about moving benches out for the equip bench because they would need a bench that could handle over 500 kilos. It's absolutely
Yes.
incredible to see athletes moving that type of weight, and just that commitment to getting under a bar like that. What's that like having that sort of weight on a bench for you? How much trust do you have to have in your spotting and loading team?
Well, I think there would be a lot of trust that needs to go into your team
Mm.
handling you. And I want to say even more trust in the equipped shirt that you're wearing.
Yeah.
Um, because I mean, being able to literally hold half a ton above your head is, excuse my language, but you have to have a massive pair of balls
Yeah.
because I've done multiple 400 plus squats all the way to 440. Even just having that on your back, not above your head, is quite daunting in its own right. Um, so from personal experience, I can attest it is scary, but there's a different type of rush that we do get from it. And we always come back at the end of the day, even if we do know this could kill me today,
Yeah.
but if I survive, I'm going to come back again.
And if it doesn't kill you entirely, you're coming back. That's something that I find so amazing about the sport is where you chat to athletes that may have had several injuries in the past or may have pulled something or hurt something at a competition, and then you chat to them and say, "Yeah, well, I've had 8 surgeries already on the shoulder, and I'm coming back." And what do you think it is about that rush? Do you think it's something fundamental to human nature that we need to test ourselves, we need to push ourselves and see how far we can go?
Definitely. I think a lot of people, especially the ones who are too comfortable in life, who doesn't really go out and challenge themselves. Well, this is just a personal opinion, but maybe you agree. People forget that we are still kind of animalistic by nature. We're still part of the animal kingdom at the end of the day. And with that comes down basic instincts, especially in a flight or fight situation. Now, given with, the wonderful world where we are at the moment regarding time, technology, safety, paramedics, police, you name it, you don't really get a grasp of that true raw fight or
Mm-hmm.
flight situation that we would in the past, where you either had to fend for yourself or run away from a predator or what the case might be. I think holding on to something like powerlifting, or not even powerlifting specific, but playing rugby or doing strongman, any type of sport gives us that connection with our maternal instinct from way back when, and just pulls us down back to earth a little bit and makes us grasp about what life is about. And also that I do believe we kind of need that challenge in a way. That it helps us grow. It keeps us consistent. There's a lot of respect and discipline that goes in it. So if you able to maintain such a means of a lifestyle, then you know you're on the right path.
Absolutely. And I think it's, the point that you touched on there as well. There, uh, I believe every generation has its warriors. And a warrior without a war to fight can be quite a difficult person and have a difficult time existing in society because it's just how they're built. And I think from how they're born and how they're built. and this outlet of strength sports or martial arts or any other sport. But I think particularly within powerlifting, because of the linear progression that we can chase weights and challenges, it gives these very powerful warriors an opportunity to have an outlet, to have that test, that challenge, and
Exactly.
push themselves, and then be much nicer in society, be who they really are, because they're all nice guys. So I'd love your thoughts on that. And if anyone's got a question for Nicolaas, let us know in the comments, and then we'll share it with our guest.
No, definitely. I do attest with that. We all, male and female, we all need a type of outlet. And I've personally felt, well, with myself and athletes that I coach, if we do not get our fix at the end of the day, which is gym, uh, you tend to get a bit nasty in a way. Like the day gets tough, your mannerisms, your personality goes a bit backwards,
Mm-hmm.
the wrong way of the spectrum. So that just helps to keep us even and calm running throughout the day and the week. There's the silly notion, that they say, especially for powerlifters and strongmen, it's big, grumpy, angry men that lift weights and scream and play heavy metal. That's not the case.
No,
We're just enjoying ourselves, actually.
it's the funniest thing. There are a couple of the athletes that come to mind. The French coach Sebastian, and even I see
Uh,
Warren Brits has joined us as well. He's on Instagram. These guys, when you see them lift, they look absolutely terrifying. But when you meet them,
mm,
after they're the nicest, sweetest guys on the world, big, cuddly, and I think it's such a good
Definitely.
lesson for people to come and see, whether it's watching the sport at the comp, or just coming to try it out at a gym, to see that your appearance isn't an indicator of who you are, but but it can also just be a warning of that someone is
Yeah.
capable. I mean, I think Warren did a 305 deadlift, and
Mm,
absolutely amazing to see. He's not a short guy. So we've got Stefan Strength just dropped a comment, mad respect for Nicolaas and a couple of biceps. That's very cool. So,
hey, thanks.
so lots of love here. Tell us about your event that's coming up, and then I just want to chat to you about sort of sport and what
Mm.
sport means to you. But again, to you know, I don't pride myself on my admin skills, and that's why I outsource as much as I can, to take on the responsibility. And I see it with Hani and with Zane and the guys who put incredible effort into these comps. Why would you do this to yourself? Again, real love of the sport.
Good. Honestly, good question. A question which you should not be asking me at the moment. This is my first meet I'll be directing,
No, you're
and
the
we a
perfect
week
guy
and a
to
half
ask now.
out. We a week and a half out, and I'm
Mm,
already asking myself that question. Funny enough, um, I think the big takeaway with that, putting yourself through that stress,
mm,
whether it's emotional, psychological, financial, time-wise, there's a lot of thoughts going into directing a meet and a lot of resources. I think what pulls us back and what uh, pulls us into the events organizing show business, to call it that way, is not what we get out of it, but the amount of joy you can see on the lifter's face when they pitch up at the meet and they see all of these grand big lights and the setup, the system, the platform, the adrenaline gets rushing. Being able to experience that joy from people outside of you start learning what joy is actually about. Joy doesn't come from the inside. It comes from seeing other people happy, seeing them perform, and also hearing the good positive comments from them that they do want to come back next year. This was an amazing event,
mm,
as an
mm,
example. And I think for me, for Zane, for Uncle Honey, for whoever they might be, even Ricardo from Bloemfontein, he's been doing this
mm.
for 10 plus years. The joy we get from the lifters, that is what keeps pushing us and keeps on pulling us back into these type of events.
Uh, it's such with what you said, it reminded me of something that I learned in high school. We planted a carob tree, and I think it's probably 1986. And our teacher related a story to us, because I think a carob tree takes 76 years or 80 years to bear fruit. And an old man was planting a carob tree, and a young man said to him, why are you planting this tree? It's not something that you're ever going to be able to enjoy the fruits of. And the old man said, well, I enjoyed the fruits of a carob tree that was planted before by someone that I didn't even know. And
Mm.
is the competition, a big part of the competition for you is laying that foundation, giving that intro to not only the current lifters, but the next generation of lifters, or the kids coming to watch even that thing. I want to be like that.
Oh, for sure. Just to keep it simple and straightforward, I do know all of the events that I attend, all of the things that I do, and I see it's not just it's not just a product of today or yesterday. It's a product that's
Mm,
been coming for the last decade, up to 50 years, even way back when the sport just got introduced to us athletes, in a sense. Um, and knowing that I can give back in a sense where anyone can give back in a sense that it'll either benefits or bring some type of positive effects to the up and coming lifters, where it might just be as something silly as a smile,
mm-hmm.
or something to even much bigger, where you can organize an opportunity for them, or whatever the case might be. I think, especially for men, once they get to realize that it's not just about now, the present, but it's about what's to come, especially for the generations who haven't even been born yet.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's about.
Absolutely. We have to build the foundation on which they're going to stand, and it better be a strong foundation. Otherwise, it's going
No,
to be
definitely.
more of a challenge for them. Two more comments from Stefan, and then I want to chat about the event and tell us about it. He just
Mm.
said, he says, wouldn't know where I would be. Wouldn't know where I would have been without strength sports. And the big, strong guys are usually the nicest. Absolutely. So, t- tell us.
I've actually, sorry.
No, no, go ahead.
Um, Funny short thing. I've actually found the bigger the guys are in powerlifting, the smaller the hearts are. For example, like
Mm,
Christy Rothner, who moved to Australia.
mm.
That guy is an absolute mammoth of a man, but he is the kindest person I know to exist.
Absolutely. There was something on the Joe Rogan show a few years ago, I think with Preez, the Canadian psychologist, forgotten his name, but saying that
Um, I
not,
know exactly what you're
yeah,
talking about.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy, okay, he started his own university. He said,
Yes.
sort of that weak, nice, a weak man who is nice is not nice because he's nice. He's nice because he has to be. That doesn't take anything. That can be quite
No.
manipulative, but the man who's strong and powerful and can do damage, the dangerous man, who is nice. That's because then that's a choice, and that's the real thing about making this really the strong guys that could, if they chose to do damage, choose not to do damage, and I think that's what's so wonderful within the sport.
Exactly, because I think those big, strong guys, they know they have the physical capability of doing harm, and for that reason, they won't.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
having that, having that inner construct to make the choice between good and wrong is what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
My one good friend who just retired from strongman now, Samuel Frauenstein, he also taught me a few weeks or a few months ago, in the same sense that if you as a man need a reason to be a good person, you're not a good person.
Mm,
It just needs to flow naturally.
100%. 100%. Just before we chat about the comp, we have a question for you from Rid1 Lifts. Will SA ever get a full power abs pro meet? Are internationals keen on competing here?
Will SA ever get in full abs SA power meet?
An abs pro, ABS pro meet.
Okay. So he's talking about a pro division.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, for those that do know, we'll be introducing only three divisions for this year: Division 2, Division 1, and then Pro Amateur, which is just below the Pro division. We did think about introducing a Pro division, but not for the first Ads SA, not for the inaugural. The idea is we want to see how well Ads SA does this year. Then, if it does really well and the demand is still high, which it is, It will become an annual event, and then
Awesome.
once it becomes an annual event, we'll be introducing a pro division as well.
Oh, awesome. So tell us about the event. Where is it? When is it? How long is it for? What can people expect?
Okay, so this is really exciting. I've
Hang
been
on a second.
competing
Then
with
I have
ads.
yeah, I have to do this.
Okay. There we go.
There we go. Yep. And
Okay,
some
great.
fireworks. Yeah. Go for it.
So yeah, I'm really excited about Ads SA. Just to give a bit of a background, I've been competing with ad specific meets for the last 3 years. 2023 was my first abs meet. 2024, I did a second one. And this year I did two. And with that, I've managed to build quite a really founded, loyal relationship with the people from Ireland, Jay specifically, the CEO of ads. And I think it was about the beginning of last year when I went back for Clash of Titans. Um, I made a joke and I told them, you know how cool Abs South Africa will sound? Maybe like Abs Rumble in the Jungle or Abs King of the Jungle or something like that. And all the bat, he really thought it's a fucking great idea. And from there, a bit of a whisper became a talk, and a bit of a talk became things that might starting to get set in motion. And now we're here, literally a year later, it's brought to South Africa. Um, so the whole idea behind Ads SA is to give two kinds of people opportunity: the young up and coming lifters
Hmm.
who don't see themselves fit for a pro division, and then also for the people who can't afford to go overseas. So what we want to do, the idea is to bring an international level platform um, down to South Africa, give people the opportunity to compete, and then to actually show them what it's about, what the standard is about, what the pace and the tempo is about, because all they've been seeing is the ads meets on the TV or on the live stream, but now they get actually to see it in person and
Sure.
compete as well if they want to. Um, and yeah, what sets ads apart is a few things. It's some people would say it's too strict. It's even more strict than the IPF. But what I like to say is they just follow the rule book at the end of the day, actually, for the first sense. And then also, you know, we have different federations across the world for different reasons. If you don't like how
Mm.
strict ads is, then just go compete at another federation, to put it bluntly. But thus far, we've been getting really good feedback. The people are excited. And funny enough, all the people that competed always come back for a given reason. So
I mean
the
that.
abs competition will be held.
Yeah, sorry,
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 yeah.
sorry to interrupt. That's such a
No, no.
great point as well, because I think within powerlifting, you get those who want to go to equipped and those who want to stay classic. I think if you're enjoying more strict and more focus, I mean, if you're comparing classic bench to equipped bench, you know, you want to keep it strict. I think there's two types of athletes: those who want it as strict and as technical as possible, and those who want it as, you
Exactly.
know, a little bit easier, perhaps.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I think also it boils down to, uh, I think a few years ago, like in the 80s and 90s
Mm.
and early 2000s, equipped was a way bigger thing. It was
Mm.
more well known. That was actually powerlifting. And then in the, I think 90s or 2000, I can't remember exactly, that is when the IPF introduced the Raw division. Um, and since then, the Raw division has exploded up until the point where equip lifting started dying out slightly
Mm.
over the last 2 decades, but it's getting a rise again. Unfortunately for abs, the whole idea is a fast-paced meet where the technicalities are taken to the T,
Mm-hmm.
and I doubt that'll be a fitting platform for equip lifting. So abs is basically just raw. It's raw with wraps or raw with sleeves at the end of the day.
That's a, what was the idea behind keeping it fast paced and keeping that on? It's a spectacle, more, or not just a
Hmm.
competition.
So I want to say, obviously, powerlifting meets. They call it a meet because that's where powerlifters meet
Mm.
up, but it's still a competition. Um, But then with the turn of events, and that is where the CEO of Abs, Jay, had this amazing idea. Since he has a background with the UFC, he was with the UFC for a few years before he came over to powerlifting. And his bright idea was, uh, you get, let's say, a powerlifting meet, and it keeps on running. You know how long it can take, for example, WPC Worlds, depending
Mm,
how many people are there. You can have a meet that starts at 8 a.m. in the morning and ends at 5 p.m. in the afternoon. Now, the one thing about that is it is a long, stretched out competition. People start losing interest a bit. You see spectators going home. I even hear some athletes saying they get too cold or they're starting to lose interest throughout the half a day. And then Jay thought, let's keep it compact, let's keep it small. Done within 2 to 3 hours, you've actually put up a show. It's not just a
mm, mm.
competition, it's a spectacle, like you mentioned. It's more entertaining. You can actually have people tune in live, and it's over within 2 to 3 hours instead of having to tune in live for more than half a day to a full day. So it's a bit of a hybrid combined approach of still being a powerlifting meet, but actually making it a grand show for people to enjoy. And a third thing to add into that, you can kind of monopolize that whole effect in a way. So if you can get in more money for that show, you can
Hmm.
invest back into the sport and back into the athletes as well.
And I think that's a very big thing. I mean, particularly in South Africa, there is no real state support, and the events are relying on their finding sponsors and growing the sport that way. And the more funds coming into the sport, the better the comps can be, and then it can
Mm.
basically snowball. With the comp now, where is it going to be held in South Africa? Can people come and watch? What's the structure going to be like?
So ADS SA is being held in the Gauteng province, specifically in Benoni. A lot of powerlifters will recognize the name of this gym, Urban Shack.
Yeah.
So it's going to be inside Urban Shack. But Urban Shack recently, well, 2 months ago, give or take, got new ownership,
Mm.
and the name got changed to Iron Empire. But nonetheless, the meet will be held in Urban Shack. The 28th of November will be the weigh-ins, and then the 29th of November will be the meet itself. So there's a 24-hour weigh-in. As far as I remember, there's about 4 flights that will be competing. 12 o'clock Saturday, D2 and D1, and then 4 p.m. on Saturday, the Pro-Am, which will be divided into two separate flights as well. And the idea behind that is to keep every flight short,
Mm.
between 10 to 15 people at most, and no more.
Okay. And do you see this? Is this an invitational event, or can anyone enter sort of down the line?
So as I mentioned previously,
Mm.
we have the pro divisions. Now, for what it's worth, at the moment, ADS has three pro divisions. We
Mm-hmm.
have Clash of Titans, as you all know. We have the Pro, which I won
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of this year. And then the third one, which will be discontinued, is Reach Rumble, which was in the USA. So those three are invitational only, since you need a specific amount of dots or total,
Mm-hmm.
and it's big. As an as an example, the Clash of Titans 4 next year in Feb, the minimum qualifying standard is 1,000 kilograms.
Okay.
So you
Wow.
have to be able to lift a ton to
Yeah.
qualify. And it's sold out. The roster is already full, which is amazing.
Which is fantastic.
So for the remaining three divisions that we will be bringing over, D2, D1, and Pro-Am, there are minimum lifting requirements. So if you fit that requirements, you're good to go. In fact, we made it so applicable that D2, you don't even need a single dot. That's for a person who hasn't even competed yet, and they can still sign up for an ads competition.
Okay, sure. That's phenomenal. What would you like to see, Nick, for the future of abs in South Africa? What's the dream if we look at the next 5 years?
I would say specifically for me or personally is first off, have ads SA next weekend do really well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of people who would still be willing and interested for the return. Um, make it an annual event, and then with the annual event include a pro division. And with the pro division, since it's invite only, I personally have spoken with several international lifters from all over the world, competed with them, and they all told me if there's a pro division in South Africa, they will be coming down. And with that, as soon as it becomes an annual event, and with that, as soon as there's a pro division involved with invite only, we will be seeing a bunch of international lifters from all over the world flying into South Africa, which is amazing. You can see people from Australia, Europe, North America, even South America. And I mean, how amazing would that be if you know
Sure.
the person that you look up to will be coming to South Africa and they're going to compete at ADS SA, and you can be a spectator to watch your icon lift. So I want to say it's a better sense of growing abs in South Africa, but with that, pulling more international lifters for our local lifters as well.
Sure. Phenomenal. That's, I think, and that's very doable and very achievable as well as we look to the future. Two comments here. I'm going to drop them up on screen for you from Steve.
Yeah.
So saying good interview and pretty good to see and hear Nick. There we go. And then a very, very good South Africa ambassador for the sport. Absolutely. I think from ambassador and celebrity, Nick. That's we come, yeah,
Oh, goodness.
no, 100. Yeah. I wanted to be careful with that. I didn't want to say, but yeah, we got to say that. For for you wanting just to chat about sort of strength now, and a couple of things about powerlifting. What does strength mean to you? What is the value for you in being strong? Because it takes a lot of work to build and to maintain. This is not something you can do for 20 minutes once a week.
No, as well as you know, it's not just a sport, especially for a gym-related sport. It's definitely more a lifestyle than anything else. It's not a sport that you quickly train for a season and then, the rest of the year or the rest of the 6 months remaining, you just take off. It does not work like that.
Mm.
In that sense, I think we all need to be just a tiny bit crazy, probably. Um, but I do think it's more a means of the satisfaction that you get from the progress that you make.
Mm.
And also all of that discipline that you invest into the routine, into always showing up, always sticking to your guns when going to the gym. That type of discipline and self-respect towards you as an individual, it carries over into daily life. It makes you a better person. It carries over into your work ethic for your job. It also helps you to see the small things in life at the end of the day. So, basic stuff. You gotta have a passion for the sports. You gotta make a routine of it in some way, and then instead of treating it as a sport, just live the lifestyle.
And again, so valuable what you shared because I've been sober for 19 years and coming from the background of, many, many decades of drinking and abuse of my body, there was no self-respect. And when you talk about, there's the commitment to the workout, the commitment to the gym, the commitment to the lifestyle, that's commitment to yourself. And you're going through all of that pain because you're showing yourself that you value yourself and what you can get out of it and push and look after yourself. And, again, you've got to be strong to have good posture, and you've got to have good posture to hold your head up high. So I think it's the physical can actually translate into the emotional as well. And I think it's such a good indicator of how we view ourselves based on the level of discipline we're willing to bring into our lifestyles and commitment to ourselves. For younger people, even, I mean, maybe people who are a little bit older, what would you say to them about strength sport and in particular powerlifting? Why should they look at getting involved in the sport?
I would say a good reason in looking why you should get involved in the sport, regardless of the age. Well, one of the big reasons I tell anyone and everyone, it's never too late to start. You're constantly hearing people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s that their lifestyle has been, up to shit up until now.
Mm,
And now they're too old. They can't get started because they're too old. But that's not the case. You are never too old. I know of, I personally know of people who only got not back into the gym, but the first time they set their foot in the gym was at 50, 60 years old.
sure.
And even at 50, 60 years old, if they've been training for a decade or 2 decades at that age, they still keep on getting stronger. they're starting to look younger.
Mm.
Cognitive functions start getting more receptive. But yeah, with that, there's so many aspects of a carryover to your life. I always say, the people always talk about the fountain of youth. Personally, I believe the closest thing you're able to get to the fountain of youth is resistance training. And it's been shown on multiple occasions on Joe Rogan
Mm-hmm.
podcasts, on a lot of other well-known YouTubers based on research that if you just physically remain active, that is the best thing you can do for your life and your health going forward. And as you mentioned in the previous comment, I want to say everything starts with a mental step. You need to make that mental uh, uh, decision to
Mm.
get going. And from that mental capacity, once you start getting physically active, the physical aspect carries over into everything. Mental stability, emotional clarity, even psychological aspects. People who have autism, it calms them down as well up to an extent. It gives them something to invest their energy into so they don't terrorize the rest of the people during the rest of the day, as a silly example.
Uh,
Um,
Absolutely.
I think yeah, there's actually too many things to mention about the positive effects you can get from lifting weights regardless of the age.
It's sort of, you only start to discover it when you get involved and you realize how valuable it is and how much it brings. And I think it is 100% the fountain of youth for physical, mental, and emotional. It's something that we really should be doing, all of us. And on top of that, as you said, you can start pretty much at any age, but don't wait to be old in order to start. We
Yeah.
got a comment from Simon Augustine. CT, just a wave and a bicep. So saying hi. There you go. That's what I was trying to get out of you guys at the medal ceremony. you know,
There we go.
it's difficult to be the photographer because shouting for stuff, you have to be respectful to the event, but you guys make it too much fun. And speaking of fun, the one thing I wanted to just touch on, and then I got a couple of fun questions just before we
Hmm.
start to wrap up, because unfortunately Instagram only gives us an hour. But what do you
Yes.
think of combining, and like speaking to guys like Dean Shelley and Keela and with the strongman side, talking about putting on
Hmm.
events, over a weekend or over a couple of days, combining strongman with powerlifting, with maybe strict arm curl. What do you think of an event like that where you get all of the strength disciplines together? I always picture the Rand. You're a bit young to remember that, but no, the Rand Easter show. I'm an old fart, so where you have this
No
sort of
worries.
event, and it's cool. Just wanted to share this, Nick, quickly. Sorry, such a great comment from
No,
Simon.
no.
Awesome guys. He says, and I got my pick with Nicolaas. Thanks. There we go. See,
There we go.
told you.
That's it. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, what do you
Yeah.
think of
So
combining the different sports into an event?
I think that's a good idea. Just to state up front, it's a good idea. It can maybe attract larger crowds at the end of the day because you'll be having people from strongman, strict arm curl, and then from powerlifting joining on the same events.
Mm.
Instead of having just powerlifters for a powerlifting event or just strongman for a strongman event. And with that, you can get a bit of variability between competitors. You can maybe have some strongmen trying powerlifting later. You don't know. Um, I think as long as they do still know that there are still three different
Mm.
disciplines at the end of the day. But I mean, if you go back 50, 60, 70 years, they were all part of the same discipline anyway. So not only is it a good idea for gathering larger crowds and more sponsorships, but it keeps things fun. It,
Yeah.
it really keeps things fun and exciting. I mean, I love powerlifting. It is my biggest sport. I will always be there for the community. But at times it can be a bit tedious. It's just squat, bench, deadlift,
Mm.
repetition, repetition. And that is where I have such a big respect and appreciation for strongmen. I mean, they have more than 20, 30 events. One competition is usually several days with several different events. That really tests a person's grits like none other, way more than powerlifting. I mean, on day one, you can have a max deadlift, and day two, squat for reps. You
Yeah.
never know what the case might be.
And outside
So I
in
think,
the sun.
and outside as well, yeah. Um, combining them, I don't have an issue with that. I
Mm.
think it's a great idea.
I think that's something. Hopefully, I'm not saying set something up, but just planting the seed, putting the idea out there to get some of the
I'll be making notes.
organizers together. 100%. Just a
Yeah.
couple of fun questions. And by the way, I see we've got
Mm.
Marco, a fantastic bench presser from Brazil. He's joined us online. Any plans,
Awesome.
or have you yet done a South American tour? Have you visited South America yet?
I've never been to South America, but I would love to go. In fact, my really, really good friend, Natalie Barbosa,
Mm-hmm.
she's in
Yes.
Canada now. I think she moved there a while ago. She has been on my case for the last 2 years to do like a Southern American, tour with, especially for the GPC Worlds, because
Mm.
what she's told me and what I've seen from her world champs in Brazil, it looks amazing. There's so many competitors from around the world. The people are really inviting, and it just looks exciting. So one day, definitely.
Awesome. I'll share your guys' profiles with one another. You can start chatting. I know Michael is very involved with powerlifting in Brazil and working hard to grow the sport there. So I think you guys will get
Nice.
on really, really well. He looks like Vin Diesel, but he's got bigger arms. So
Uh,
so
okay.
it,
Easy to spot then.
yeah, that were very easy to spot. Well, that's the worst thing when you say you're looking for someone at a powerlifting meet. What do they look like? He's bald with a beard and he's a big guy, so that doesn't really help.
Every second person has that look.
Yeah, exactly. So, just on a lighter side, just some fun questions. What do you love about powerlifting?
Well, I want to say these are easy questions, but once you get a guy to start thinking, I go blank for some reason. Um, the one thing I enjoy the most about powerlifting is I want to say there might be two answers.
Mm,
It's what powerlifting does for the community in the one sense, but I won't go down that route. I'm going to be a bit selfish. What powerlifting does for me, what I enjoy the
mm,
most is the fulfilling feeling I get after a day of lifting. I feel like I've actually achieved something, I've done something of value for the day, even though it's just for myself, catching a pump or doing a squat. It turns me into a better person. I'm a better person for the rest of the day. As I mentioned earlier, since I'm in a better state of mind, I have a better flow of thought.
mm-hmm.
I see the value behind life in a much more clearer sense, and it just calms me for the rest of the day. I'm able to focus better on work, the small, silly things like that.
No, listen, that's a fantastic answer because I think that's really what everybody is looking for. To do something where they feel they've achieved. Many people go through each and every day without ever feeling that. And I think for me, that's probably one of the reasons why the sport is so important to me and why we put so much effort into it. It's because when I was drinking and sitting on a bar stool and not going anywhere for decades, there was nothing being achieved. And, so
Mm.
that's a very, very valuable point. And it's something that, again, because the sport is linear, it's something that you can do and show yourself at the end of the day. And if we're making ourselves the best version of ourselves and who we can be, that's the greatest gift we can give to those in our lives and those around us. So when you
Uh,
said you wanted to be a little bit
exactly.
selfish with the answer, it's not that selfish actually. You're wanting to give the best of yourself to others. And Simon says 100% agrees. Awesome. So now a fun one as well, and you can take it
Mm.
whichever way is or any answer that you want. What drives you mad
Let's
about
go.
powerlifting?
What drives me mad about powerlifting? Uh, I want to say that the basic consensus that I mentioned, powerlifters are angry
Mm,
people who have weight rage and they just want to throw weights around. And obviously, that's not the case at all. But I think this facade is slowly but surely actually leaving people's mindset in a sense. Um, let's think.
I
Actually,
think,
I've been enjoying
yeah.
no, I've been enjoying this sport for so long, and I've actually taught myself to completely. avoid and look past, silly things that I'm
Mm-mm.
actually struggling with an answer for
Okay,
that.
no, but that's a
Um,
great answer. The misconception of the lifter, because I think any lifter who has the strength to throw weights around, their coach is going to tell them they're not training hard enough and they're recovering for. If you got the energy to throw weights around, you're going to be loading up more on your squats. So that's
Definitely.
what
Well,
that's what keeps us
yeah,
all
yeah.
in. Yep.
Let's say for a silly answer,
Mm.
if you call yourself a powerlifter and you compete, but you disrespect the weights of the equipment in the gym
Mm-hmm.
and you do not pack away your weights, uh, I won't say I'm going to lose respect for you, but that's not the type of breed of lifters
Mm.
that we are. As you would show respect towards your fellow person, do the same with the equipment.
Sure. That's a great answer. I love that. And I think the community is its own selection criteria. Each gym is its own
Mm,
selection criteria. If you're not respecting the equipment, you're not respecting your other lifters, you're not going to be in the environment long. And, it's
exactly.
not that hard to pack weights away, even though it is cardio. It's something that has to be done at the end of the day. What's your dream for the future for the sport of powerlifting? What would you absolutely love to see?
The one thing I would love to see, and actually, let's say, not here, whenever I pitch up at whatever competition, is politics.
Mm,
Obviously, we all know it exists for whatever silly reasons. It's calmed down a bit, but for some reason, whenever I pitch up at X meet, wherever it might be, people really enjoy for some reason to bring up politics with me. Um, which I don't mind, but I also do believe the only way we will be able to demolish something silly like that is
mm,
just stop talking about it. If you're constantly going to bring it up and just say about how bad it is, I understand, but you're still bringing it up. There's no place in the world for that in sport at all. Sport should be driven by sports-driven people
mm-hmm.
and admin and organizers. Politics should be left for the politicians. That's the only place it should be. Um, and then besides that, just make powerlifting a bit more. Well, I'm actually into about that,
Mm-hmm.
about making powerlifting a mainstream sport. Uh, I don't actually know if it should become a mainstream sport, to be honest. Obviously, there's way more benefits included with that. There's more money involved, more sponsorships. But then also, I feel powerlifting might lose a bit of that feel what we know what powerlifting is. It's a bit more underground.
That
It's a bit
basement
more
vibe, right?
touchy.
Yeah.
The basement vibe. The people don't even see powerlifting as a sport,
Mm.
even though it is. They just see us as, monkeys lifting weights at the end of the day.
Strong monkeys lifting weights.
So, yeah. So I would say abolish politics
Mm-hmm.
and then just let powerlifting grow. It's already growing at a phenomenal rate, which I'm really happy about, but there's always room for improvement.
Absolutely, always 100%, always room for improvement. Nick, it's been such great answers. It's been such an amazing conversation with you. Really grateful, given the fact that you've got an event that you're organizing that's coming up next week. That you've made yourself available. We really do appreciate that. Is there anything that you would like to touch
Anytime.
on just before? Thank you. Just before we wrap up.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for hosting me. I really enjoyed it. And truthfully, I can't believe 1 hour went by
So
that
quick.
fast.
Yep.
We'll have to do another one for a long
Absolutely.
format for YouTube, I believe.
I'd like to chat to you
Um,
after the comp, just to see how it went. That would be fantastic.
oh, definitely, we can have a
Okay.
follow-up afterwards as well.
Perfect.
But yeah, to sign off, well, first on your end, thanks for what you're doing for the powerlifting in South Africa as well. Whether I'm at WPC, RPC, well, not RPC, but
Mm.
WPC or IPF, you're always there. So that is amazing. You're also making part out of I want to say, the small group of people who don't get enough recognition for what you bring to the sport as well. These days, when you hear streaming, it's Emmet Media, which is
Mm.
amazing.
Sure. Thank you.
And then also, at the end of the day, I just want to try and get more lifters into powerlifting. This is such a wonderful sport which is not recognized. Um, obviously we all have a big love and respect for rugby, but it
Mm-hmm.
feels like that's almost all that's being taught at school. They don't speak about any other sport types.
Yeah.
So grow the sport as much as possible, get more young lifters into it, because I do believe with the genetic potential that we do have in South Africa, already we're dominating rugby world championships. We are dominating the strongman scene. We are dominating in so many other sports, hockey as well, netball. Powerlifting, we have several world record holders as well, but it's just we're not known, and
Mm,
it's time to get known for that
sure.
now.
That's such a great way to wrap up the show. So it's time for South African powerlifting to get known and to get seen and respected. And I think just by by the mainstream out there, and it's just because the athletes deserve it. And I think the more that people know about the sport, the more that the athletes almost become personalities, maybe even celebrities like
Yes.
yourself. And sorry, I had to do that. The more that then there's the opportunity for sponsorship, for support, for engagement, for travel. And I love what you said as well about hosting here in South Africa. And when I chat with Hani, it's always why he's wanting to put on events in South Africa. It's because it's really expensive for South Africans to travel and to get out there. So it's really cool. I think that's such a
It
great way
is
to end the show. Nick, we wish you all the success for the event,
great.
all the success in your lifting. Keep doing what you're doing. I mean, coming down to WPC, we didn't even get a chance to chat to you about your athlete. We'll do that on the next one. But coming out and just being part of the medal ceremony, that was really amazing to do and really supportive of the sport, and to give of your time for that, because it was a couple of hours. It was not a 15-minute pop
Yeah, it
in.
was. No, it was about a 7 hour drive
Mm,
and literally 12 toll gates later. So it was a bit of a wild, how can I say, journey.
yep.
But as always, I always enjoy it. You can be on the other side of the world. I always
Yeah.
make plans to go through because it's not just about me. It's about the sports. It's about the other lifters, and also no individual lifter is bigger than powerlifting.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. Thank you so much, Nick. Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
I'm
thank
gonna
you.
I'm gonna end the live stream, and then I'll just chat to you quickly off air. And thank you to our
Perfect.
viewers and our listeners. This has become a very interesting thing over the last couple of months or years, and a bit of doing the podcast live. YouTube, we get a couple of dozen views, but on Instagram, that's where most
Yeah.
people, I think, are seeing stuff coming up, where we catch them in the
Yeah.
doom scrolling. So, Nicolaas du Preez, thank you
Yeah.
for joining us, and
Lovely.
thank you
No,
for
thank you.
yep. And thanks to our viewers. So Nick's down, and I'm going to end. It'll go black, but I'll be with you in a few seconds. Thank you, everyone.
That's it. Thank you. Until the next one.
Until the next one, you got it.